I always find it a little obnoxious when I'm updating some sort of a software program because they say that there's an update and then something about it doesn't work quite right afterwards. The settings are changed in some way or something, and it's just a little bit obnoxious because I'm thinking, it worked just fine before, and then what was supposed to make it better actually made it worse. I hate it when that happens. Sitting here in Port Sterling, working on my my refining. Looks like that station there ran out of food, unfortunately, so we're gonna go next door and see if we can find another one. Here's one. It can be a little bit ridiculous when you're trying to craft and there's other players nearby trying to craft at the same station. It gets to be a clicking competition to see who can get click the button first to get the crafting station to work. Well, anyway, today I want to talk about the toxic community of Albion Online, and I think there's a misconception in Albion Online that everybody's toxic. And first of all, disclaimer, I think toxic can be misinterpreted sometimes because toxic could mean someone who's hostile and a nasty sort of a player. It could also just mean that you didn't get your way and somebody said or did something that you don't like, and there is a difference. There's also a distinct difference between toxic players who are deliberately trying to play the game in a way that is disrespectful to other players and the perception of people being toxic just because it is a full loot PvP game. So if you are in a black zone or a red zone and you PvP other players, that's not toxic because that's actually what the game is designed to be. And of course, I'm a proponent for staying out of the dangerous areas if you feel like having a more chill experience. It's totally fine. But if you do go out into a dangerous area and you lose your things and you have people kill you and then make fun of you, that's not toxic. That's just Albion Online. And it's important for players to understand that some things could look toxic, but they aren't necessarily toxic. They're just the way the game works. And you can avoid those things, but if you do choose to experience them, don't take it personally. The other thing, though, is that there are actually toxic players who play Albion Online, and they take the game too seriously. And they are likely to say things like, if you are not playing in the full loot areas, if you're not ganking, if you're not doing all of those things, then you should just uninstall the game and go away. And those players are not helpful to the community because they're overlooking the fact that the game really needs all sorts of different players to be balanced and fun for anyone. If you are a PvPer, you're not going to have a great time playing Albion Online if you don't have any players who just like to craft items or collect those raw materials that you don't want to take time to gather. So there's a lot to be said for the fact that even though the game might appear to be something that only has something to offer the full loot PvP centered players, it really is a game that needs all different play styles and types to survive and thrive. So I guess the purpose of this video is twofold. First of all, to just kind of say, not everything that looks like toxicity is. Sometimes it's just the way the game works. And also, sometimes toxic players would do well not to drive away the more casual players in the community, because without the casuals, you wouldn't have a good environment for the more hardcore players. And there is a sort of a symbiotic relationship there, and I do believe that some of the folks who say that Albion is a hardcore game that doesn't have anything to offer anyone else do their own game a bit of a disservice, because if all the casuals just uninstall the game and go away, that's not going to help Albion Online. And certainly the fact that sandbox games are the minority in terms of player base does prove this, because the casual players that want a more of a Care Bear style experience probably do wind up playing something else, like a Final Fantasy XIV or something like that. The reason why I play this game is because I really like the idea of a simulated economy, and there's no other game out there other than Eve that really captures that. And so I'm willing to take a little bit of that more toxic environment, I guess, as opposed to not having a player-driven economy. But I do think that this game stands to benefit from doing whatever it can to appeal and offer something to the casual players as well as the more hardcore group. So if you are looking in from the outside or you're a new player, my challenge to you would be don't take things personally, and also understand that griefing is a little bit of part of how the game works, so it shouldn't be something that surprises. But then also just know that no matter what anyone says about how there's only maybe one way to play the game, you can play it however you want. And truly, contrary to the belief of some, Albion Online does need all of its players to create the balanced world which we all have come to know and love here. Or if not love, at least continue to log back into and not leave or depart from. I think for all the times I've thought I was going to just quit on Albion Online, I can't quit without, after a while, starting to feel like, oh gee, I would like to go back and play some Albion. I guess other than the player-driven economy, it's really the mindless, chill atmosphere of just kind of going back and forth, gathering things. It's just so relaxing compared to questy games where you have to follow the prompts and you're going back through doing, group dungeons that you've already seen before and things like that. So sometimes I think MMOs are very simple, but they try to make them look like they're this complex, deep, multi-layered world. In reality, they're all very, very surfacey, simple games meant to keep people coming back. Albion Online presents itself more as just a surfacey, simple game to begin with. It doesn't pretend to be more than that, and so inadvertently, I think it winds up being a little bit more than it intends to be, despite itself. Thank you very much for watching.